You are listening to the Music Mondays with MAZEMENT podcast. You can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. For more information, go to musicmondayspodcast.com. In this episode, I'm going to give you my 2021 goals, the recap on the 2020 goals, which no surprise there, and I'm going to get into another artist on call. You'll also hear some of the latest news in the hip hop and EDM music genres. And then I'm going to close out this episode today after the artist on call with a few final things. So here it is, another episode of the Music Mondays with MAZEMENT podcast. What's going on, music heads? Here we are for season 4 of the Music Mondays with MAZEMENT podcast. I am your host, and as you can see, if you've been watching for a few seasons now, you'll see that there's quite a few upgrades to this episode, as well as the last episode being the new website, musicmondayspodcast.com. This episode, as you can see, there's probably a clearer picture. That's because I'm going on a new camera. I also have another one that I'm going to probably swap in between different episodes. And I got this green screen effect behind me, which isn't really working out because the green screen is not wide enough. If you have any tips on that, let me know. I'm getting used to this. 2021 is a new beginnings year. We're going to work through some things to get things back to normal. This is one of them for the Music Mondays podcast. We're going to figure this green screen thing out. There's a lot more to come as well in 2021. Crazy news, like obviously the group I've been hinting for months now, we're only weeks away from that release. So stay tuned on that. I can't wait to share this with you. It's been in the works for a few years now. Can't give you any more information than that because I love keeping you on ice. Obviously, if you stay tuned to me on social media, you might get a hint here and there. There's actually one out there right now. So check it out. Can't say much more. But anyways, before we get into anything today, let's get into a fact.
Music Mondays, music facts.
The house music genre was created by the alteration of disco music to enhance elements such as the bass line and overall feel.
Music Mondays, music facts.
Logic retired in July from rapping. I didn't really know. I don't know. Maybe I announced that on here. It's pretty bad that I don't remember that. I should remember that, and I don't. But either way, he announced his retirement in July. Turns out he might be coming back under a different alias, different name. I think Hip Hop DX posted something that gave me a lot of information on it. It says Logic didn't retire. It seems like he just reinvented himself as Doc D with the Planetary Destruction album coming soon. The more and more I read into it, it's almost like this, alter ego he came out with. I think MF Doom did the same thing. Check it out if you're a Logic fan. I think it's cool. I dig Logic. I'm a fan. I think it's great if he sticks with it. We need more hip hop artists like Logic out there right now to help resurrect what was once a very talented genre. So great to hear that he's kind of coming out. I'm curious to see the difference between, his style and, this new alter ego style, but worth a listen, once they release stuff. So stay tuned on that. Another piece of news that came out that interested me was the Ashanti versus Keisha Cole versus battle, which Billboard deemed Ashanti the winner. So I'm very curious to hear, because when I heard about everything that was going on with it, I thought Keisha Cole was going to take it because I've never been a huge fan of Ashanti. Turns out Billboard disagrees. I don't know if you feel the same way. Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter at Mazement Music or Facebook. Same thing. Worth a look. If you don't know what a versus battle is, I think it was started by Swiss Beats and Timbaland, but I could be wrong on that. Fact check me. But either way, what it was created for was during the pandemic, it gave artists the opportunity to kind of battle based on their top hits. So one artist goes against another and they just play their top hits and they kind of talk in between, whether they're bragging, taunting, maybe even saying like, yo, this one got a platinum album, just, just to give it some more hype, and that one didn't get anything. Something like that. It's kind of like a battle, but it seems like more friendly than not. I mean, obviously there are some intense ones too where the people probably hate each other, but either way, the whole intent to it, from what I understand, was for fun, and that's kind of what this one was in a way. And I can't wait to check out the full thing myself. I've only, seen bits and pieces and heard a little bit about it. But so check that out. Ashanti versus Keisha Cole. The final piece of news that caught my attention was Tiesto teamed up with Ty Dolla $ign on a collaboration. I think it's called Business Part 2. So check that out as well. Billboard wrote that on January 21st, the song is a revision of Tiesto's The Business, a dark thumper that's racked up 204 million streams since dropping in September. Based on Ty Dolla $ign's, skill set, I'm curious to hear what this song is all about. And if you're a Ty Dolla $ign fan, you'll like it too. If you're a Tiesto fan, obviously. The reason why it caught my attention was because it's a blend between the genres, and I love that, as you know, if you listen to this podcast. So that's pretty much it, wrapping up the news. I mean, otherwise, like I said, 2021 is set to have a lot going on. And the first episode of every season, I usually go over the goals I set for the previous year. So I'm going to let you know what I set for my goals for 2020, but it's pretty much a wash just because of how 2020 went. Like, I'm pretty sure I had some goals to do some shows in 2020. That wasn't even possible. So I can't even be mad that that didn't happen. But 2021, I'm going to set a few more goals that are a little bit more realistic. As a matter of fact, let's just scrap 2020's goals because I don't even remember what they were and I can't even find them. Doesn't even matter. Just know that this podcast has grown quite a bit in 2020, and it could be a factor of the pandemic. I don't know. But either way, I'm going to continue to put my attention towards helping this podcast grow. And I appreciate your support to help me do so. Thank you for listening to this so far. Like, I'm very grateful to be able to do this and get the attention that I've gotten. The 2021 goals, with that being said, are going to be one, I obviously want to grow the YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked out the new YouTube channel, it kind of sucks because people that are like new to the podcast are like going to it and be like, oh my God, that video only has like one view. But really, it was on the MAZEMENT channel before, but I changed it because obviously the Music Mondays brand is growing, so it needed its own channel. Just keep in mind, those videos have been out for a while. They had prior views. I just kind of scrapped all those views. I mean, statistically, I don't really care how many views I get, but what matters to me is that YouTube and Facebook and these sites are algorithmic in the way that the amount of views they have, the videos. So if I get a lot of views, it's going to get more views. It's going to get, it's going to go on news feeds a lot more. It's going to distribute more widely. So that's why I care about the views. That's why I care about subscriber rate. So if you haven't already subscribed on YouTube to the Music Mondays with MAZEMENT podcast, I will try to put a link wherever you're watching this video, but you got to subscribe to support. I really appreciate all the support so far. And if you have any tips or whatever you want to see on this podcast or artists you want to see interviewed, hit me up, musicmondays@mazement.co. Just shoot me an email, shoot me a DM on Facebook or anything. I don't care. I can't wait to hear from you. And like I said, I really appreciate everything, all the support so far. Number 2 goal. So number 1 would be, let's say, I don't know, give me 25 subscribers on YouTube. I mean, that should be totally realistic with minimal promotion on it. So 25 subscribers in 2021. Number 2 goal is going to be on the MAZEMENT side of things. I want to launch this group, and that's realistic. I'm setting realistic goals because 2020 was so bad and so so impossible to get anything done. So the goals I made, I should say, productive in the studio, tenfold. Like, I got a lot done in the studio, but just no shows. And that's obviously how musicians are making a lot of money, is doing shows. Digital streams and stuff are great, but we have to promote them through shows. So number 2, I want to launch the new group. You're going to hear about it in a few weeks. So there's 2 goals. Final goal, I'm going to set the bar a little higher on this one. I want to do 3 shows in 2021, at least 3 shows. And that's ridiculous if I can't do that. I hate even saying 3 shows. I mean, some artists are doing like 300 shows a year. Like, obviously they're signed to big name labels and they have a lot more money than I do to put into this stuff. But the fact with my budget and everything, there's in a good year, there should be no excuse not to do at least 20 shows. But I'm going to set 3 for this year just based on the pandemic and the way things are going, because obviously if places aren't allowing you to perform, you have no choice. So there's the 3 goals for 2021. Please do your best to help me achieve them. And there will be prizes for you once I do so. That's what I mean. I'm going to implement different things in 2021. I'm going to put out some merch. I'm going to give you guys some free stuff for all your support to thank you. Keep showing your support. And moving on, next up, we have the artist on call with Lee Leprechaun. So don't go anywhere. Here it is, artist on call.
Artist on call. Artist on call.
What's up, Lee Leprechaun?
What's going on, man? I'm glad to be here. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Dude, I appreciate you coming on, and I can't wait to hear more about your story and, introduce you to everybody that's listening to this podcast. Where are you from?
Dallas, Texas, born in Plano. I've lived here most of my life. I was in Houston for a couple of years through my childhood, came back, and I just kind of settled in.
Now, you've always lived in Dallas?
Mostly, yeah, and around the surrounding areas.
Now, have you traveled quite a bit as an artist, or has it mainly been like around Texas?
I've like performing wise, only within Texas, different cities. I haven't traveled out of state for performing yet, but I've been all over the US, traveling, for fun. But that's about it.
And I'm sure we're going to hear more about that. Before we do, tell me a little bit about like your background story, how you got started, like what age and all that.
So when I was about 18, my friends took me to the club for the first time, and I saw Spencer and Hill, and I was in love with house music ever since. I don't even know if they still make music, unfortunately, but they were some of my favorites back in the day. And I actually never really wanted to get into it because at the time, all of my friends were into it, and I didn't want to feel like a follower. I kind of avoid trends, stuff like that. If something's really popular, I'm not going to check it out. I can't help myself. But then a couple years into it, I was about 22, and they'd all dropped out. Not a single friend did it anymore. So like, all right, it's my turn. So I picked it up, and I just kind of ran with it. I started playing little hookah bars in my area on like Friday, Saturday nights. Like 2015 to 2018, I DJ'd the St. Patrick's Parade every year in my area. Basically on one of these streets, they shut it down from like 7 a.m. to like 4 p.m. No traffic, no nothing. It's just a huge bunch of parades and lots of drinking. I always got to play in what they called the Mavericks section, which was for the Mavericks, the actual basketball team. They had their own section there that was fenced off, and they gave me a stage, big old sound system. I brought my friends to perform as well, hooked them up, got anyone that was like down to do the show to play. And we did this for a couple years straight. Got on the news a couple times for it. Since then, I've just been doing contests and playing other gigs. Probably the biggest thing I did, I won a contest and opened for Carnage at Stereo Live. Played a sold out show. It was wild. Probably one of the greatest nights of my life. I've played a bunch of other different shows since then. I picked up producing though, like 3 years into it. So I've been doing this for maybe 6-7 years now, but I started producing after DJing for so long. I was like, I gotta do something else. I have my own sound. I gotta learn to get it out. I can't just keep playing everyone else's music. Nothing wrong with that, but I wanted to do more.
Was it just because of the music that you listened to that inspired you to do it, or was it?
Yeah. A lot of the artists that I looked up to, and then I was super inspired by, I had to try it for myself.
Right.
So I've got these ideas in my head and these sounds, and I had to get them out.
No, it's a weapon once you do too, especially because it builds up constantly. Mm-hmm. Now, in a little bit, we'll get into that process for you and everything, because obviously that's different for everybody. But what inspired the name Lee Leprechaun?
It was actually my gamer tag for the longest time on Xbox. And I started looking at all these artists. I was like, man, all of these artists already have their name as a gamer tag. And then, because I used to go by the name C. Beasley. So my real name is Colin Beasley. And I thought it'd be clever to put SEE Beasley. So you're seeing Beasley. Yeah. Well, it never stuck, never took off. So one day I just committed to the gamer tag. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be Lee Leprechaun, the artist. Like my middle name's Lee. I'm Irish. Let's do it.
Dude, and there's so many ways you can market that too, especially in EDM. Mm-hmm. You could do so many, like it fits the genre, because think about some of the names in EDM, there's like DJ Chocolate Milk, there's like so many different names that are out there that just, you're like, wait, that's a name? So Lee Leprechaun is like one of the most normal ones that you could have. And it's catchy out of all the ones you could think of.
Well, I've always been a fan of names with two words with the same first letter. You
Oh,
know,
that's
that's
smart.
always
Yeah,
been
yeah.
catchy to me. So the two L's just kind of stuck out.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, it has nothing to do with your name. Like Colin, you would you would never think your name is Colin. With your process with music, like how does that usually work out for you? Like, do you just get these sounds in your head randomly, or is it usually when you're listening to something that you come up with something?
Sometimes I'm inspired by a song, like I'll use it for a reference track. Like say I hear like the way it's structured in a certain way. I'm like, oh, okay, I want to kind of mimic that, but with my sounds. So I'll throw a reference track in there and I'll follow it 8 bars by 8 bars. Like, all right, they've got kicks here, they've got a snare that comes in at this time piece, they've got a riser here. I'll kind of mimic that for structure, but I'll use my own sounds for it. And a lot of times I'll just sit there and go through like someone's sample pack and start listening to stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that sound. And then I'll go through and try it myself.
When you're DJing an event or whatever, is a lot of that improvised, or do you have that stuff pre-recorded for the most part?
I usually get the first 2 or 3 transitions practiced really well. And then a lot
Okay.
of it, I'm just having fun playing what I feel like, going through my tracks, reading the crowd, stuff like that.
See, and I think the problem with today's DJs is you'll often see it a lot of times where it is planned, you know, and it is like I brought it up a million times on here, press play DJs, you know, they just hit play and let it roll and they sit up there and dance and do handstands and that's it, you know. but like there is still, you know, the authenticity behind it. I mean, coming from a vinyl turntable DJ, you know, there is still a little bit of that today with, you know, the improvisation that you're talking about. You're playing off the crowd. So I respect that 100%. Now, what DAW do you really prefer when you're making music? I mean, you know, for people that don't know what that is, digital audio workstation, you know, what you record your music in. What's your preference for that?
Well, I started on Fruity Loops, and because I was on a PC for a while, and then I moved from Mac to producing and just transitioned to Logic because it was pretty much transitioning really smoothly. The same layout, just a little more detailed. And I've been on that ever since. Everyone tells me to go to Ableton, but when I look at it, it's just foreign language. I don't understand it. I've never tried to understand it either, though. That's my problem. But Fruity Loops to Logic was just seamless, and I picked it up like nothing.
I mean, one thing I can back you on there is I started out on Ableton, but like Logic's where I'm at now, and it's beyond every other one. Like I have Pro Tools, I have Ableton. I don't know if you mess with Reason at all for like production.
Early days.
Yeah, like dubstep, it's dope for, you know, like I used to like mess with dubstep a little bit and I made a few on there, but like Logic is just so universal. You could literally do anything on there. And it's just a lot of people don't realize like the automation benefits of it and, you know, like flex pitching and all that, you know.
Oh,
like
dude, it's amazing. I do everything in Logic.
Right? Seriously, I agree 100%, you know, so that's awesome. I can relate to you on that. Now, tell me a little bit about G-Wave, the song that I'm going to play on this episode today.
So G-Wave was actually kind of inspired by Drezzo. I'm a big fan of his dark house, you know, kind of basement. And you're like, sounds like you're in a gutter listening to a bunch of door stoppers flicking. It's kind of essentially how I like to describe it. But it was inspired by one of his songs. I was just jamming out one day and I was like, I got to try this. You know, I have a really groovy bass line. I want to try and use that as a melody. So that's just kind of what brought it together.
So let's get into it. We're going to check out G-Wave, and then we're going to get right back into it with Leprechaun. So don't go anywhere. Here it is, G-Wave. That was G-Wave by Leprechaun. Now, give me the scoop on that. Is that out yet anywhere? Or?
It'll be out on the 29th. It's my first full-length album, 9 tracks, dropping on the 29th. I've never done an actual album, just done EPs here and there. But yeah, I decided to try an album, so here we are.
And that's going, I'm assuming that's like all major digital streaming platforms.
It'll be everywhere. And you can actually get physical copies from Amazon if you really want.
You have quite a following on Spotify already.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you guys haven't been on there to check out Leprechaun yet, go on Spotify, check out Heavy. That was a dope one. You know, so quite the slew of tracks on there I was going through earlier. I was just like checking it out, trying to get your style. That one's definitely different. You know, I like what you did there. It seemed like it had more of a gradual build, more than what I'm used to hearing from you, but it was dope. I definitely dug it. Now, what inspired the sounds of that? Like, what was that? Just kind of like an emotion as you were working? You were just, you know, playing along, or?
A lot of it just kind of comes as I'm doing the song. You know, I always start with my kicks, my drums. I always start with kicks, throw in some snares or hi-hats, and then I progress from there. I'll play with a bass line, make my subs, and then I'll start playing with a melody or some keys, just trying different things till something just clicks in my head.
I could hear that song any club I go to. So definitely it's got the commercial appeal to it. Now, what genre would that fall? Like, what subgenre would that fall off?
I always thought it was bass house, but my management says it's tech house. So whatever you want to take out that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is like, I'm either like house, dubstep. Like I pretty much call it all EDM. I mean, and that's how I've done it on this podcast. You know, everything's EDM.
Yeah, exactly.
But how do you ever get like worried because you work in different, you know, subgenres? Do you ever get worried about like the industry standard? You know, how they say to stick to one thing and not the other. As an artist, do you ever worry about that, or do you just kind of go freely?
Sometimes, but yeah, I always just end up reverting doing whatever I feel like. Because I've done lo-fi music, I've done house music, I've done dubstep. I've even made some hip hop beats for people. Like I'm just always trying new things, always experimenting. I don't want to get stuck in a box or a hallway. Right. I want to constantly be able to roam. Yeah,
see, and I agree. Like, and I can relate to that because from like MAZEMENT, I never wanted MAZEMENT to be categorized as one thing. You know, I always wanted it to expand. Now, you, on the other hand, doing all that is a little bit more broad than what I'm doing. But I'd like to think I'm doing the same thing. You know? I'd like to think I'm doing as much as you're doing. But how did you link up with One City Music Group, the label that you're with?
So about 2 years ago, maybe, they booked me they used to throw their own festivals and stuff like that. They were throwing one in my area. I auditioned, they booked me, and I looked up the owner, and I was like, all right, owner, Brandon Webb. Who is this guy? I got to figure this out. So when I got there to the event, I sought him out. I was like, I have to meet him. I have to introduce myself. I have to make an impression on this guy because I want to keep doing work. So I found him. I introduced myself. I started, talking to him. We started hanging out. But he said what really impressed him is that when he booked me, I make my own promo videos. I make my own logos. I make all that stuff. Well, I offered to make little promo videos for any of the artists. Now, there was like over 100 on this lineup. Maybe 6 hit me up for this. And he was extremely disappointed that no one took up the free promotion. And I made every one of them a promo video. He said that was the one thing that made me stand out to him, was that I was willing to do things to help everyone else on this lineup that I had no idea who they were. I just was trying to be nice. There's a bunch of people, gives me a chance to get my art out there, gives me a chance to help people and make an impression. So shortly after that, he happened to see me DJing at a club in Dallas called Project AI. It's not around anymore. But he happened to be there. He liked what he saw. We ended up talking some more, and he gave me his business card, and we linked up and did a couple shows together. And then he finally offered me a contract.
Now, what was that like for you? Was that like an exciting moment for you? Was it unexpected, or?
It was very unexpected, very exciting, and I'm glad it happened. We've been working together ever since, and it's probably been the best manager I've ever, had.
You hear horror stories, so it's great to hear these stories, Yeah,
no, Brandon's great. Brandon takes care of me because he runs One City Music Group. He runs EDM DFW. He runs Trill Talk Radio, which is like his hip hop brand. Excuse me. He has a lot of stuff going on as well, but his main focus lately has been me and his artist.
Now, like I noticed throughout the pandemic, speaking of which, recently you've done like some socially distant shows. Yes. Around your area or whatever. Obviously, Texas is a lot different than New England because we can't go anywhere. You know?
Yeah.
Like we're a lot more locked down than you are, but like on that sense, obviously you guys are playing it safe. I see you wearing masks in the pictures I've seen and stuff, but like how is that experience for you compared to, pre-pandemic?
It's intimidating because
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to happen. But I've gone and gotten tested every time after the shows, and like a days or two later, just to be safe. Thankfully, I've always been negative because you never know who you're around at those shows. It's scary because you
Right.
do interact with people. It is socially distanced. Everyone's spaced out in their own little areas, but you do, you go past people, you go in different areas. You got to use the restroom. I mean, you are near people, so it is a little scary. But I'm happy to be able to be out doing these shows again. All of 2020, I said no to everything. And honestly, I'm just kind of tired of saying no.
Yeah, well, and it's tough, especially like I mean, I see you're wearing a mask and like being a DJ, you're so far from the crowd anyways, usually so you're probably safe. It was crazy when I saw that. I was like, damn, we gotta get on that level. Like we can't even like if we try to like I'm pretty sure you'll go to jail right now if you perform.
Oh wow.
I don't know if it's the truth. I'm just saying. Just like
pretty intense over there.
like rarely I've seen like a few friends play guitar here and there, but I haven't seen any shows around here, and I can't wait. Seeing you guys do it is just like, what the hell am I doing in New England? Like,
I will say though, I experienced my first drive-in show recently, and that was a lot of fun. I felt a lot more comfortable there.
Okay.
Everything was like space. Everyone had like their little like 20-foot parking spaces. You could get out, move around. It's like little personal parties throughout the whole show. So that was kind of cool. I went and saw Dead Mouse for his, and that was a lot of fun.
What would you say? Like, would you do a whole tour of that if you had the opportunity?
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've heard mixed things on that too, but I'm all for it too. I'm like, why the hell wouldn't you do that? I mean,
Yeah, I would be down. And if someone asked me to do that, yeah, I'd be down to do any tour. I just want to do it.
right? Yeah, exposure, anything. So now, do you have anything planned like coming up, like for like obviously the pandemic's still going on. I mean, let's assume it's going to happen through 2021. Has there been any talks with management about the future plans or anything, or would you just kind of coasting for now?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but we're trying to go to Miami in March for Miami Music Week. We're doing a compilation album of a bunch of different artists. We did one last year, but we weren't able to go because of the pandemic. But this year we're going to take the album and we're going to go to Miami and try and do some shows in March.
Hey, Miami's the place to be. I mean, especially for EDM. But like, what now? I noticed you mentioned like hip hop, and you made some other beats of some other subgenres and stuff, and you kind of mix it up. Now, what inspired you the most about EDM in general to pick that over, like a hip hop genre? Because I mean, you could have easily been a hip hop producer, but you chose to take this path.
Freedom. There's a lot more things you can do with electronic music that I feel like you're limited with hip hop, because everyone writes their hip hop beats to match the artist. You're not just making a beat to make your beat. Everyone's like, oh, I make beats for so-and-so, so it has to be their style.
Yeah.
You can't just do it in your way. And then if someone likes it and wants to put their vocals on it, that's cool. But if you're specifically making the beat for them, it's not really yours, I guess.
Oh, 100%. Honestly, like now that you're saying that, like I feel like I've been thinking that and I just haven't said anything. Like as a hip hop producer, like I have that, like I'm listening to what's on, Spotify and all these playlists now or whatever, what's on, TV nowadays. It's this trap music or whatever, but like all the beats sound the same. And that's what artists that come into the studio expect us to produce. And it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like my coworkers like, fine, I'll make that. Me on the other hand, I'm like, I got my own style. I want to make it different, but they don't want to hear that. They want to hear what like little Yachty did. They want to hear like his stuff. They don't want to hear anything original or anything exclusive to them. It's weird, dude. It's funny you said that. I mean, EDM, like you said, it is definitely more diverse and definitely more creative on that. No, I agree. Hopefully hip hop follows pretty soon, but like,
soon it'll all just be one genre, just be music.
Seriously, yeah. Why do we have to have labels anyways? I mean, it's just like
just call it music, just enjoy it.
Yeah, hip hop is slow EDM,
Yeah, no, exactly. Because I mix it in my sets all the time. I like starting an hip hop song and then switching it really quick to a house music drop or dubstep drop. I love doing that stuff.
Right.
Take little samples from songs all the time and throw them in there.
Well, and people would a lot of people would be surprised too on how many hip hop songs are actually 140 BPM.
Oh,
You
dude,
know,
yeah, and
especially
128
because
even.
right, because I mean they're even going at like 70 BPM or like
Mhm.
60 BPM, so it's like double that. You know, you're good. Like
Yeah.
especially like dubstep was inspired off of reggae, which you know
Mhm.
definitely relative to hip hop. What would be a genre that you'd be interested in exploring that you haven't really messed with yet outside of electronic music?
Hmm. I don't know, maybe some alternative or like some more metal. I used to listen to a lot of that stuff. I still do every now and then. But like or like 2005 screamo music. I
Yeah, yeah.
was really into that stuff, but only other instrument I could play was bass. So you can't really do too much.
Yeah, well, flee from the Red Hot Chili Peppers says a lot different.
True, true. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, you're totally right there. My experience, I can't do enough. I'm
Right.
not that experienced. I played for a couple of years, but I never picked it back up again.
No, I agree. Honestly, when I was younger, the bass was probably the most like the least attractive instrument
Yep.
because of that, because you're
Mhm.
like, okay, what can I do with that thing? You
Yeah.
know, and then I get like I've had, I don't know, 10 electric guitars throughout my whole life, up till now, from like probably like not even joking, like when I was like 5 or 6, I probably had something. Still to this day, couldn't tell you how to play guitar.
Yeah.
I
No,
I
me neither.
could sit here and play a few things, but I'm not playing you any songs. I'm not doing any of
Yep.
that. It's just it didn't really catch me as much as I thought it would. But I still hold on to them. Someday it will.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I still have mine. I won't get rid of it just because it's a memory thing.
Right, right. Now, do you like have any family that have been involved with music to make you want to do anything more? Or?
My dad, when I was a kid, was in a band called Sodium Dogs, and they used to open for the Butthole Surfers all the time before I was
Oh wow.
born. Apparently, they used to tell me stories about how the Butthole Surfers used to crash at my house before I was born. They said they'd walk up in the living room, there'd be like 20 kids passed out. Later on, it'd be spotless clean, everyone gone, like no one was ever there.
That's
They used to tell me
crazy.
that story all the time when I was a kid. There's a little history there.
Yeah, I know. Small world though. So what's the music scene like in Dallas, Texas? Like obviously you're staying busy, so EDM's pretty much a hit, but like all around, like does it benefit all artists there? Or?
It's pretty clicked up, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Everyone tries to stay in their little groups and they won't branch out, or they get offended if you try to get them to branch out, or you're stepping on their territory. It's really annoying, and I don't try to mess with any of it. I just try to hang out with everyone that's trying to do what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't really care what group you're from, what music you play. If you're a nice person, we can hang out.
Well, and I condone what you're doing too, teaming up, grouping up. Like
Hmm.
EDM is all about that anyways, because obviously you're all performing together. But like those are the people that you should that's the only way you're gonna move forward is if you find people like that. You have that momentum. And obviously being a part of the label, One City Music Group, you got that, and that's
Hmm.
gonna help you move forward anyways. Now with the label experience, what do they help you out with more than what you'd be able to help yourself out with? Like, do they help you book more shows? Is that kind of like what the deal is, or is it all around as an artist they boost everything for you?
They help me get shows. They help me put things into words better than I can a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
Like with write ups, interviews, sometimes I do. They'll go through and make it sound a little more professional. So I'm not the best speaker, but they help me with shows. They help me get in the door, basically. Like they're like, hey, we represent, Lee Leprechaun, and then I get in there and do the work.
Right.
They've gotten me in the door at some venues like Texas Live here, which is a huge, huge venue with a basically the wall is a big monitor and it raises up, and
That's
then you're
sick.
behind it. It's beautiful. It's probably the coolest experience, one of the coolest experience I got to do. But the venue's known because it's connected to the baseball field here.
Oh wow.
So it's super popular all the time. There's like 5 different bars inside of it. Like if you don't want to be at the main stage, you can go upstairs to like a hip hop room or to a country room. Like it's all in one building. It's crazy.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah, because I like Texas. I've been through Texas. It was like one of the states I've never performed in. But I've always heard great things, and like I could imagine, a city like Dallas in that area. I mean,
Yeah.
Houston, like everything, there should be good, pretty good music scene down there.
Hmm.
So I was totally interested in having you on for that reason. I haven't had anybody on from Texas, and hearing EDM, as soon as I heard your stuff, I was like, I gotta get him on here. And safe to say, after you being on here, I am a fan, and I definitely want to tune in to more of what you got going on. And if you're listening right now and you want to know where to find Lee Leprechaun online, you can find him at facebook.com/Lee Leprechaun. Instagram.com, Twitter.com, and Twitch.tv/Lee Leprechaun. Don't forget to check out his album coming out on the 29th. The album was called
Scream Inside Your Heart.
You got to check it out. Obviously, you heard a glimpse of what he's got going on with G-Wave that we played earlier. But thanks again for coming on, Lee. This was awesome. And I can't wait to hear more of what you got coming out soon.
Hey, thank you, man. I'm really, really happy to be here. I can't wait to do more with you.
There it is. Artist on Call number 15 in the books. As you could tell, there have been a few so far. So if you haven't checked them out on the new YouTube channel or go to musicmondayspodcast.com and check out all the artists on calls as much as you want. Pretty soon, I'm going to have them individually put out there so you don't have to listen to the whole episode. YouTube, it's already like that. But on the website, I'm going to do the individual artists on calls as well. So check those out. I've enjoyed every single one so far. I can't wait to do more, and I'm just going to keep the ball rolling because I'm meeting so many great people and learning so many great things along the way, as I'm sure you are too. So let me know what you think as well about each artist on call. Tell me which one's your favorite. Shoot me a DM on Facebook or shoot me an email, musicmondays@mazement.co. I really want to know what you think. And so far, this is it. Season 4 in the making. This is what's going on. 2021 is going to be a lot better than 2020. I already feel it. It's in the air now. Once you hit rock bottom, you can only go up. So that's kind of how we're at with 2021. Like I said, there's going to be more in it for you from me in this podcast. I'm going to give back a lot in 2021 just because I feel like I haven't shown my appreciation for all the support I've gotten so far with everything that I got going on. Stay tuned for more. I'm going to close out this episode. With that being said, stay tuned for next month's episode with the release feast. Since I'm not doing one this month, I will give you a few to go check out in the hip hop genre. You can check out Hopsin called Your House. That's a good one. Really heartfelt storytelling hip hop. Jack Harlow even has a new one called Tyler Hero. So check that one out as well. Those are 2 hip hop ones to check out. EDM wise, a few that I saw or a few that I heard over the last month that I dug. I don't even know when these came out, honestly, but Bad Bees by Quintino and Harrison First, Alice in Wonderland and Valentino Khan, song called Anything. Those are dope ones. Go check those out. So there's 4 songs for you to go check out. Let me know what you think. musicmondays@mazement.co is the email. Otherwise, hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, @MazementMusic. I can't wait to hear from you. And until next month.